This is the ATI Podcast.
Welcome back to the ATI Podcast. This is Barrett here, and we've got some familiar faces on the show today, and that is Joey Rackovan back as guest, and Mr. Knobnard himself, a.k.a. Tom Tickle, a.k.a. The owner of Edaw's End, Brandon Stewart. How you boys doing?
Fantastic. Brandon is looking sexy as usual. That's how I want to start this, is just let Brandon know how sexy he's looking.
Well, you were saying very unsavory things about him before we got on here, actually. You were calling him like a chomo and some other things.
I just said the mustache looks like it belongs on a child molester.
The mustache looks like it belongs to Burt Reynolds, so there's that. It's just kind of orangey. If it's black, it would definitely fit the bill.
I don't know, man. Brandon looks like that guy, like, if he tried to grow a beard, like his mustache
would overpower it?
Wouldn't touch his beard.
No, that's me.
Well, I mean,
So
I
you got that.
have hockey stick beard effects. I have a Joe Dirt sense of being.
Oh, yeah, it just grows in natural like that. I've seen that. And then you got that weird, like, what's that thing you've got on your back? Like, you have just like one patch of central back hair, like where a...
No, you're talking about that pilonidal cyst that you had, Joey.
No, I had a pilonidal cyst.
Yeah, I said Joey.
Yeah.
I said you're talking about your cyst.
No, Brandon has like a patch of like red hair in the center of his back.
You know what's so funny about this?
He doesn't know anything about it.
He's definitely picturing a different human being.
Yeah, I know.
Because I have a hairless body. I'm like a cat that is completely
except for that
hairless.
pleasure trail.
So like so I have a hairless body, just like another thing that's completely hairless. Dynamite fucking drop in, Brandon. Dynamite drop in.
Alrighty, so let's get on to our agenda for today's show, and it's not us filleting each other, as it may seem. That is the agenda, and that is talking about some awesome women in music and the people that we really like as musicians, whether they are the lead in a band or just a particular instrumentation, or they are the artists themselves, a solo artist. Any which way you slice it, we've got some ladies out there that we want to talk about, bring some praise to as musicians, and perhaps even personal influences in some respects. And I am just going to kind of go over the premise so all of our audience is aware of what that is today. So I've tasked these gentlemen that are with me today to make 5 selections of female artists that they want to talk about. There might be some crossover. We are intentionally, I know at least Joey and I have corroborated some of what our list is, so we're going to save our 2 similar picks toward the end so we can kind of keep some variety going for you guys and make things a little bit more efficient for our conversation today. So, Brandon, let's start with you if you're comfortable with it. And why don't you get things kicked off by talking about a female musician that you'd like to spotlight?
Number 1 on the list is going to be Dolores O'Riordan. I mean, I followed the Cranberries since I was a little kid. She is definitely one of those people, I mean, although she's passed, that really took it up a notch to me, and something I listen to on a daily now. It's one of those things that my parents kind of grew me up into, and I listened to. I touched my first tip of my dick to, and I gently rested my balls upon the CD. The actual CD, not the jewel case.
Sure.
And that's somebody to me that's really stuck out, mostly because of her Irish accent.
Definitely.
But and her red hair, which is, I don't have red hair here normally, but I've dyed
it in memory.
In the last 5 minutes, in memory of her before Gentry, joining this session
conversation. Yeah.
I call bullshit.
Well, I would like to say I don't even know why I didn't even consider her for my list, but great pick, I think, and a legendary voice. It certainly has inspired countless musicians, and whether they be male or female, in fact. And the Cranberries, obviously a huge band of the '90s as well.
If you don't hear Dreams and get like a little stirred up, it's such a pretty song. Like, and they did aside of like the things like a lot of people know them for, like they were very like had some very dream pop and like jangle pop influences in their stuff, and like they kind of spread it out from there.
And they had a lot of heavy music that actually, it was alternative at that point, but any of that could have gone one way or the other. It was very
definitely
heavy music.
Yeah, they had a lot of influences. It was very evident in their music too. And again, you mentioned this, Brandon, just that Irish accent that conveyed through her singing at times, some of the enunciation of words too, added to their signature sound specifically. So just an iconic voice, iconic lead singer of a band. Fantastic pick to get things started, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I said she was on the list of at least the influences. You guys can't see it, dude. I have so many. I have a whole list of just like women in music mentions I wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
Anyway, but we'll keep it tight, and then we can kind of go from there first.
Yeah. So Joey, why don't you get things going here with your first pick?
All right. So first off, like, and we'll do honorable mentions last, I suppose. Yeah. So my number 5 slot is gonna be Annie Lennox, solo career, Eurythmics. She just has one of those voices. Like, I've heard her do all kinds of different styles of music. Like, she can do the blues thing and soul. And then the Eurythmics has almost like they have early electronic influences in them.
Definitely.
And she's just got one of those voices like
strong.
It's very, very strong. Like, listen to like There Must Be an Angel, and some of the stuff that she, like the runs and stuff she pulls off are just outstanding. And she also like has this vibe about her that she almost reminds me of like the female David Bowie, just a little bit.
Dude, I never made that correlation, but that you nailed it for sure.
It just puts that out. Like, she's got some similarities vocally. I mean, Bowie wasn't as concerned, like, because she's dead on pitch wise too. Like, she's got like some of the mannerisms and like the little quirks. Like, Bowie was like all about like the idiosyncrasies.
Yeah.
And the little things, the character that's in the music that you hear.
Right.
Like,
I could definitely see those two being in a will they, won't they, brother and sister situation in a porn.
Wait. So you're kind of steering in two lanes here, Brandon. Which one is it? Or does it have to?
I don't know if you recognize my name, Joey, but my name is Tom Tickle.
Yeah,
I'm for the jokes.
I get that, and I'm trying to do the classic and fun time-honored thing of just shitting on the joke.
No, okay.
Like, I understand that there's a joke there, and frankly,
this is going to be a long explanation, folks.
I am tired of coming on this podcast and talking about incest porn.
You're tired of it?
That's a fucking lie.
You're off starting it.
I don't know. Brandon started it this time.
Yeah.
I made one mention about like VC Andrews being incesty, and then Barrett said like 10 things.
Well, here at the ATI Podcast, we're all about incest porn. So
fucking
apparently.
No. Yeah, David Bowie and Annie Lennox and step bro porn.
Yeah. So I'm going to move on to my first pick, guys, and I'm going to talk about a wonderful duel of sisters, actually, and that is the band Heart. Heart, an all-time favorite rock band of mine.
Oh my God,
powerhouse, so underrated. They've influenced so many young women, musicians in general. As far as just a straight-ahead rock song, few songs beat Barracuda in particular. But you could go on the list of just hits that they had: Magic Man, Crazy on You, What About Love? That was more of a power ballad in the 80s, kind of a shift in their music.
Alone.
But yeah, there's just so many fantastic songs from Heart in particular. So we're talking about Ann and Nancy Wilson, sisters, and certainly in their day, like when I was a younger boy and kind of blooming into my adolescence and what have you,
Is this going to be a jerk
I
off
definitely
story?
had a hard crush on these ladies.
Yeah,
No, it's not
it's
a
a
jerk off
jerk-off
story.
story.
We're trying to keep it between the lanes here, boys. We are honoring women and not being fucking dogs.
Yeah. This is a different type of
on.
tribute than the videos you're used to watching, Brandon.
Oh, come on.
I'm taking the moral high road
Come
on this
on.
one.
We
Yeah,
are
me too.
honoring women.
You know, if you say if you say that you're taking the high road, it eliminates the purpose of the high road, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like do-goodery, you know?
Yes, yeah. Virtue
Whenever
signals.
you
So
said that
anywho,
somebody's super powerful and that you respected them enough to jerk off to,
but if you guys would just let me get there instead of cut me off at the pass. Anywho,
By all means, carry on.
Heart, again, one of my all-time favorite rock bands just in general. There's so many things that I could detail that I love about them and their music. Certainly more of their 70s work is what I'm a fan of. And, just kind of a lot of sentimental memories and things tied to that. Out of Seattle, Washington specifically, and they've had different runs of their career. They went from the 70s to the 90s and then started things back up in the 2000s. And there's been some drama between the sisters, actually, which is a little unfortunate to see. There's been at times that they in particular have been at odds with one another, which is kind of, I can't necessarily relate to that in my brother sister relationships, but certainly they have found a way to get things back together and back on the straight and narrow betwixt them. I will say one of the biggest things that I love about them, and this might be kind of an out of the box pick and mention, is whenever they did the Led Zeppelin tribute. I don't know if you guys happened to catch that with Jason Bonham on drums. And not only did I cry, but members of Led Zeppelin cried while watching them perform and Stairway to Heaven, and it just absolute goosebumps, tears. The first time I can't not cry at various points every time I watch that. And once you just kind of think of the context of everything, Led Zeppelin sitting up there watching one of their peers, and they're all fans of Heart. So it was kind of a dual honor in that sense. And Heart obviously influenced by them too.
Yeah.
And also to see Jason Bonham, John Bonham's son, on the drums as well is just so emotional. And it gets me right in the feels every time.
Oh, absolutely. And it's a fun, I was already making the parallel between Heart and Led Zeppelin before that ever occurred. Dude,
Yeah.
if you go back and you listen, like Barracuda sounds like a Led Zeppelin song.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
And
It sounds a lot, yeah.
And Ann, an all-time great vocalist, period, male, female, it doesn't matter, what situation, just as far as her pure, raw talent.
Oh, absolutely.
Just the things that she does, the vibrato in her voice, her range. I mean, it's just incredible. Incredible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, Brandon, we're back on you, sir. Why don't you throw us out your next pick?
Well, to a bit of a redemption right now, I'm going to nominate Patsy Cline.
Nice.
Okay.
Very nice.
Good call, man.
Very.
My second, because she came in at a time of, political adversity on women in general.
100%. 100%.
She was a voice to all the people that were a poor group of people.
100%.
Whenever you listen to Crazy, in a lot of Patsy Cline's work, she has a lot of pain in her voice,
100%.
which resonates with an entire group of people that were going through that pain.
Sorry.
So, for me, Patsy Cline, number 2, should have been number 1. She's the greatest of all time female singers for me.
I think we're going.
Yeah, I agree. And Patsy Cline is definitely somebody that, you could just talk about her contributions to country music and kind of pop, what was pop at that time specifically, but
that, and even just the fact that she's able to cross over, that's
right.
Country at a certain point, she was one of the first people to really cross over into a pop audience.
Right.
Yeah.
And she's one of those artists too that kind of has just kind of this imminent or ominous presence just in music, and in general too, she just died well before her time too, because of the plane crash and everything too. So
Yeah.
She was just like early in her career, and you just think about the long lasting effects that she's had throughout music and various artists and an inspiration that she was. Correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't Willie Nelson write Crazy?
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, I mean, and
Early
Willie Nelson,
example of Willie's work, and
Willie
him
is just
collaborating
behind
with
so much
great-
shit. Yeah, absolutely. Her and Dolly Parton and various other artists he had written things for. It's so crazy to think about Willie Nelson's impact. Not that this is about him though, but just had to make that mention as well.
Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely. But again, that's her taking that song, and I mean, if Willie Nelson sang
Made
it, it's
it her
one
own.
thing. It's making it your own thing.
Well,
I Fall to Pieces is another one. Yeah, I Fall to Pieces. You hear that one quite a bit too.
Well,
Right.
and if you really think about it, like all the women today that create music have that haunting voice, she was the very beginning of that
Well,
for me, because she has that not ominous, but that atmospheric.
sort of haunting.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Like
I
she's
think
got
that's
that.
what I was
that
looking for earlier.
that what I think of as being like, if you associate things with country, I think of like high lonesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like she's got that high lonesome voice where it's up here and it's wavering, and she got the vibrato on it that just makes it sound, especially the way that they used to mic vocals and things, where it's got
Right.
that room reverb on it where it's
Right.
stretching out and it's breathing,
Absolutely.
and it doesn't sound, it's not super super dry. They would throw some of those you'd have some of those naturally picked up effects because of the way that
Right.
the recording process worked back then.
Yeah, back then they didn't have the magic that they do today, and just a natural talent, just out of this world. Great pick, Brandon.
Yeah.
And again, another one that I didn't consider. So fantastic. Glad to have that variety added to the show. What about you, Joey? What you got next on your list, sir?
Well, me next. I
Yeah.
got. So let's talk about mine. Hang on, I got my little thingy open here. Make sure. I looked at it. I just
Put
want
your
to make sure I've
thingy.
got things to talk about
Put your
here.
thingy away. I'm joking.
I'm not putting my thingy away.
I
always
just like to.
asking
I just like to picture that. We're all having this podcast, and Joey's just fiddling with this little like toothpick in his pants, just flopping outside.
He's fashioning himself a cock ring right now.
Hey! Get it right. It's a tuna can.
No,
It ain't
no,
long.
I'm objectifying Joey right now, which is
Well, it's not long, but it's thick. So
It's fine as long as we
At least
objectify each other.
yeah, it's like a hockey puck.
it's okay. That's terrifying. And it's,
Think about it.
no,
Really
I am.
think about it.
No, I am.
All right.
It's a
So
white mushroom.
I'm going to stare right in Brandon's soul right now. So my pick, my number 4 on my list, because I think Brandon went like
Give it to
1
us.
through 5.
It doesn't matter.
That doesn't matter. We'll pick our own way. So I'm going the same way Barrett is, and we're going 5-1. So number 4 on my list is Kate Bush.
Hell yeah.
Kate Bush. That's
Running
something
up
I
that hill,
grew up with. Like, I want to say, I feel like my mom definitely was playing that stuff when it came out. Plus, I got some additional exposure initially because she had done a duet with Peter Gabriel called Don't Give Up. And I associate that with so many times in my life of just adversity and like overcoming depression and things like that. And that song means so much to me. And like, there's all kinds of stuff, especially if you listen to Hounds of Love or The Sensual World. Those are they're gorgeous albums. And her voice is just, you talk about haunting, just ethereal. Like, that's how I describe it. Like, and she's just got this, her tone, her pitch, her vibrato. It's not a soul voice. It's just this high, clear, ringing thing. It's something really special that you don't get to hear. You don't get to hear as much. Like, everyone is trying to trick it out or add like certain things to their voices now that you don't hear, like that Kate Bush didn't have to do. She just has the character of her voice and this unique music. Like, she started out like, her music's like art music if you listen to it to start.
Right.
And it's very odd and kind of a little twee, like kind of dainty. And then as you start adding in synth and you start adding in like more eclectic elements to it, it just gets more robust and more powerful, and her voice just grows with it.
Absolutely.
Like I said, I really highly encourage, if you're having, like, if you ever just need to get it out of your system and feel better, like you're at the verge of like that depression episode, listen to Don't Give Up, because it's a suicide note, but it ends on such a hopeful note, and it's just these two people clawing each other back from the edge is what I think of when I hear it. And so I also wanted to point out, aside of the fact that like there's actually a 2 Minutes to Late Night cover of Running Up That Hill that came out about 5 or 6 years ago. Emma Ruth Rundle really, really reminds me like tonally of Kate Bush a lot. And like, I always liked like comparisons like that. Like if you listen to like Sylvain, they're a black metal band. Dude, you would like, Brandon, you like Dolores O'Riordan, you would love Sylvain. That's what they sound like. Like it sounds like a black metal band with Dolores singing for them.
You're gonna have to text me that, because I haven't heard of them.
Or Gold, the band Gold, and it's GGGOLDDD.
Nice.
They sound, what they remind me of is it sounds like the girl from Portishead.
Okay.
Oh god.
But it's like post metal, like industrial and post metal with like that type of singing on it.
I'd be down with that.
Awesome. So good. All right, so I don't want to take up too much time. Kate Bush, Yas Queen.
Yeah. So I just want to make one comment about Kate Bush. So I'm sure you guys can relate to this. There's times in your life that you heard an artist like early on in your life, you liked it, but it didn't maybe stick with you, especially like people of our age. You know, the whole music industry and access to music was entirely different, you know, so it was like basically terrestrial radio is how you heard anything new at the time. And then if you could get your hand on some type of physical media of somebody. So Kate Bush was somebody that we always had a respect for in our household, and I enjoyed her music anytime it was on, but it wasn't anything that I had owned myself per se. Yeah. And then I had this like second revival with fandom with her. And that was like kind of in my teenage years, where I heard Big Boy from Outkast just constantly talking about Kate Bush. Mm-hmm. If you ask him who his favorite artist is of all time, it's very possible that he would tell you Kate Bush, which is kind of crazy. You wouldn't think that Big Boy would be such a fan, but he is. And he's been championing her for forever. Yeah. And so that drew me back into Kate Bush. And I was like, you know, like he is right. Like she doesn't get the acknowledgement that she needs, and she's one of the greatest artists of all time. So, and
I'm glad to see that she's had a bit of a turnaround in the pop culture lexicon at this point, because she is. I mean, she's just one of those. Like, that's an all-time voice. Like it doesn't.
Agreed.
Like she just stands out. She's in the like. Dude, I play guitar. You know that Brandon Barrett plays guitar, and there's a club that you know that it's called the One Note Club.
Yeah.
Okay, and it does not matter what instrument they're on, who it is. That person picks up a guitar and plays one note, and you know who they are.
Right.
Like B.B. King could play one note, you knew who it was. Brian May can play one note on a guitar, and you know who it is. Kate Bush, as soon as she opens her mouth, you know it's Kate Bush.
Yeah, I agree, for sure. Iconic voice, without question.
Yeah.
Agreed.
So I'm going to move on to my next pick, and my next pick is what I consider to be one of the biggest talented voices present day, and has been active in the music scene for a good 20 plus years. And that's going to be Julie Christmas. Julie Christmas is a fantastic singer.
On my list.
And in fact, I'm like, well, once I hand off to you, Brandon, let's just, we'll expound upon her both, and I'll give you your chance to kind of dig in deep on her. But Julie Christmas is in so many great bands that I personally am a fan of. And let's start first by talking about Made Out of Babies. I mean, Made Out of Babies, just a fantastic band. And back in the day, whenever Joey and I were in a band together, we listened to a lot of Made Out of Babies. Yes. Not to say necessarily it was directly influenced, but it definitely was kind of a mood setter, either pre-practice or post-practice. So a lot of Made Out of Babies was being played at that time in our life. And then you have to talk about Battle of Mice as well. Battle of Mice, just another fantastic band with her involvement. And you can go on Cult of Luna, the stuff that she's done with Cult of Luna in the last 10 years. And then now she's doing her own solo stuff that's getting a lot of attention and praise. And she's actually recruited members of Spotlights and Cult of Luna to play for her. And I bring out Spotlights because that's a band we're going to have on the podcast here in July too. So I'm looking forward to having that. But the drummer from Spotlights is actually playing with her on her solo stuff right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so they just did the Roadburn Festival. I think it was a couple months ago. I can't remember exactly when that took place, but yeah. So she played, and the drummer from Spotlights was there, as well as members of Cult of Luna backing her.
We
Cult of Luna is one of my favorite post metal bands.
They're so good.
We got to actually see Julie Christmas at Roadburn whenever we went in 2020, babe, that we went to Roadburn? 2018, 2019. We got to actually see her while Converge was there.
Nice.
Unbelievable. Like, if you talk about somebody that does music in such a diverse set of genres, this is your fucking one. Like, this is the closest thing the better thing of Chelsea Wolfe, in my opinion.
I agree.
Julie Christmas can fucking, I mean, she's a ripper, man. She's dope as fuck.
I hate to, we're talking about women, and I hate to use the male. I hate to use the male equivalent, but dude, she's got balls. She's got she's just got so much intensity. Definitely. And you listen to The Bad Wife and some of the stuff on that, dude. There's a spot on there where she sounds like dude from Scott Kelly from Neurosis. She does that scream sing, that pitch thing.
Definitely.
And it's so good. And then she's also got it's that same weird kind of art house vibe where she has these weird variegated pitches and stuff. And she'll sing kind of almost baby doll, or she'll squeak, and she'll do weird, again, idiosyncrasies. She has these weird quirks to her vocals that just make her stand out.
I'm gonna make Joey a little bit jealous real quick. I got to see her on stage with Boris singing a part, which was fucking insane. And the whole venue had this dampening fog in it. It was the fucking dopest thing I've ever seen.
That's the Sun trick. When I saw Sun, that's what they did. I saw them at the Firebird, and the whole venue was just complete. And it was at a certain point, because it was them and Eagle Twin. I don't know if you know who Eagle Twin is.
I haven't listened to them in a long time.
Eagle Twin kills.
Yeah.
But it was those two, and then dude, by the time Sun came on, half of that fog in the room was weed smoke. It was so you didn't have to buy if you were going to that concert, man, because you left that fucking thing high.
Yeah, I think that's a perfect Barrett. I think that's perfect because who in modern day has the pipes to be able to do what she does? I mean, and she's going to go down in at least metal history as one of the greatest singers of all time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anybody that's on the live feed, I want to make a quick mention. There might be a delay in Brandon because he's traveling at the moment. But if you want to pick back up with us on the episode drop when it takes place on June 1st, all this will come out in the wash. So no big worries there. The only other thing I wanted to mention about Julie Christmas, if I was particularly today going to start a super group in the heavy music realm, she would have to be considered as a front person.
Absolutely.
Without question. Although she's capable of doing it all. So, why don't Brandon and I both have Julie Christmas on our list, right, Brandon?
Yep.
So we'll volley back to Joey, if that works for you, Joey.
Absolutely.
Next pick.
Yeah, so my next one would be Fiona Apple.
Oh, yeah, she's good. For sure.
She has... I don't know what it is. We keep talking about this, but she's got such a unique voice, and not only that, but she's really, really talented. She plays drums, she plays piano, she sings crazy good. she's what I think of as being like an actual artist, you know?
Yeah.
Like, if you listen to what's the freaking name of it? I always get it wrong. It's the one that's got the super long title, Win the Pawn. But Win the Pawn is actually like the whole title is like a poem. Like and it's a really, really, really long thing. But if you listen to like Win the Pawn or Extraordinary Machine, just there are some out of left field choices being made there that are so unique, and then her voice just shines so much over the top of it. And she just, I don't know, I can't overstate how much she makes, like, I just get the chills from listening to her sing. Now, and she's got like the weird, like, there's almost like some real quirky, almost Tom Waitsy type of arrangements in places. And it just, but she keeps that beautiful voice just shining through. Like, I feel kind of weird. Like, I don't think, did any of us pick an instrumentalist?
Yes.
Solely an instrumentalist?
Yes, there will be one on my list eventually, but we just haven't gotten there yet. So
I just wanted to make sure,
and
because I feel bad.
Nancy Wilson was.
Yes,
so.
Nancy Wilson. Yeah,
great guitar player.
I did
absolutely. She's a riff machine. So can we backtrack to Nancy Wilson and Nancy for just a second?
Yeah, go for it.
So something I want to point out that a lot of people don't think about in terms of music and like movie music specifically is, if you weren't already aware, the movie Almost Famous.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I really highly encourage you to go revisit. It's still such a great movie. The Wilson sisters, all the Stillwater stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The Wilson sisters wrote that, and there's a lot of really, really good music in that they portray as being their music.
Right.
So, yeah.
It's crazy to think, just again, the impact of those two in particular, just incredible. And if they didn't have some of the, bickering and issues that they had in fighting with themselves, just hard to even think like what other levels and plateaus of achievements that they would have had.
Well, that's the thing with like being in a band with your sibling in general.
Yeah.
Like the Black Crowes have the same problem.
And period.
Oasis.
Yeah. Especially like
Oasis is probably the golden example.
Yeah, they're the gold standard for brothers who play music together and hate each other.
Yeah, absolutely. God damn, that's a rough deal right there.
Yeah, aren't there two Buckleys in? Or weren't there two Buckleys in Every Time I Die?
Yes, Keith and Jordan, and they're kind of a present day example.
I thought so.
Too. Yeah,
and Keith just kind of
for the sake that I might lose you guys. Can I give you guys my last two picks, and then you guys can go on from there?
Yeah, go right ahead.
Just in case.
Go right ahead.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I'll drop off. That way it won't fuck up anything, and Barrett doesn't have to do all this editing.
That's good. Go for it.
Sarah Balliet from Murder by Death.
Okay.
Good
pick.
Good
Cello
choice.
player.
Yes.
She's perfect in everything that she does in that band.
It's a signature piece to their sound.
I mean, it is the sound of them.
Right.
Like if you take away the cello from that, then you don't have Murder by Death.
I agree.
And then lastly, shout out to my Texas native here, while I'm here, is Gobi from Violencia. If you haven't checked out Violencia and you like hardcore, she's your girl.
Absolutely.
That girl has so much depth and anger in her fucking body, and she's like 100 pounds of fucking pure fucking hatred. So
just full of piss and vinegar, huh?
Yeah, she's fucking amazing, and it's all in Spanish,
right?
And it's fucking amazing. But I love you guys.
Even if you don't
much.
Speak Spanish, you can definitely enjoy it.
Yeah, most definitely.
Brandon, thanks for hopping on. Thanks for the picks.
Yeah, most definitely. You guys take it easy. Joey, go fuck yourself.
All right. All right. So thanks, Brandon, for your contributions on the show today.
Thanks for that mustache, too.
Yeah, that mustache definitely set us on the straight and narrow. So I think anything else we want to wrap up on Fiona Apple, because I feel like we got kind of sidetracked on her.
No, I mean, I just want to point out again, just like if it's another one that if you have not really had a chance
Absolutely
to check out her stuff, just as far as just hearing somebody who has mastery over their voice and their instrument
100%.
and their lyrical process.
I agree.
Because she really does have like all those things just nailed down, and she means a lot to me. Like I see her and she like warms my heart, and she's kind of my hero a little bit. Like I think it was I think Feels So Good did a shirt, and it was her, and she's wearing a full set of armor in the picture, like with a sword, and I was like, that's exactly how I want to think of her.
Again, another iconic person. Every time that I feel like she's like an artist. Every time she puts out an album, excuse me, that it's kind of event listening, like, appointed listening.
Oh, I'm going to listen to it. Yeah, she puts out an album. It's like Paul Simon for me.
Right.
Like if Paul Simon puts out an album, I'm gonna listen to it.
Yeah, and
speaking of, he has a new one out, and it's really, really good.
Which I have not checked out, so I will do that as well.
His voice, he still sounds good. His voice still sounds incredible.
Fiona Apple, there's definitely a range. Like, my dad would, again, most of my musical taste, or at least exposure to music, especially at our age, as we mentioned earlier, was very limited. So, like, basically by proxy, I liked things that my dad liked, or if there was something that he played, that I caught my ear or whatever the case is. But I remember the first time I saw the music video for Criminal,
right,
as a young person, and I don't mean this like in a fucking gratuitous way, but I was just like in love with her immediately.
Well, she's got something about her look, her gait, like the way she stares.
Yeah,
because she dead eyes like in that camera in that video so much.
Yeah. There's just a presence that she commands in that, and I just like, and it's more about her talent though too. From my perspective, it was just like, it was there's moments in my life, and again, music videos were a big part of what attracted me to music at that time too, because that was kind of a third phase of, I should say,
it's a generational thing, like for us,
which unfortunately isn't really a thing anymore to some degree, but
some bands are still putting out videos.
Yeah. And she, like, that video definitely for Criminal in particular is just like, if you haven't ever seen it, check it out. That's all I can say.
And I remember that she did the one that always sticks out to me, and it wasn't this. It was it's a Beatles cover. Yeah. She covered Across the Universe on the Pleasantville soundtrack, and the video is just so arresting because it's her sitting in the middle of this. And Pleasantville is actually, it's a pretty decent movie. Like it's worth a rewatch. But she's sitting in the middle of the diner that they destroy in the movie because people were painting, like sort of artistic expression started to break out in this town, and people in this 50s culture did not know how to handle it. Yeah. And in the video, she's sitting there, and it's a slow motion video, and she's doing the lyrics. It's similar to the concept of like the No Surprises video.
Yeah.
But it's panning out, but instead of it being this tight focus, it's panning out, and you're seeing all this chaos, like all this breaking glass and people throwing bricks and shit, and just this everybody know, like if you know the Beatles, you should know Across the Universe.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's got that very lilting.
Absolutely.
Again, it's like a real haunted kind of melody because it's John Lennon wrote it, and John Lennon was writing it in chromatics, so it takes steps, like half steps down, half steps up. And you can tell it's his writing because he had that way about him. Paul's are much more oriented around the piano and scale. Yeah. And John's writing was a lot more experimental. Yeah,
I always kind of look at it as like a major minor split. Like Paul McCartney was more on the happy side of things, whereas John Lennon was on the more melodramatic sound.
And then George Harrison split the difference perfectly. And he also had the he's the one that if you heard off time things or odd meter things, that's George Harrison. Yeah. Because he was the one, that came from Indian music. That came from his love of Indian music.
Right, for sure. Let's move on to my next pick on the list, and that's going to be Kim Deal. If you're not familiar with Kim Deal, and this is an instrumentalist pick, although she did provide some vocals in the Pixies, but she is from the Pixies, and my primary reason for picking her, although she's involved in other projects such as The Breeders, I am more of a Pixies fan personally, just because, again, their cultural impact. If you talk about a 3 album run from any band, I would say that the Pixies, Surfer Rosa, Doolittle, and Bossa Nova is just as strong as most 3 album
Oh,
runs.
yeah.
Very few
Oh, yeah.
are better. And
That's
the
like a
Pixies,
triptych right there.
absolutely. The Pixies, iconic band. If you've never listened to them, got to listen to them. And Kim's actually playing of the bass, I'm a fan of as well. She does a very good job of filling out the sound of the band and holding down the low end. And to me, one of my all-time favorite rock bass parts, and nothing overly complicated, is Gouge Away on Doolittle.
Okay,
I absolutely love
yeah.
Gouge Away as a song. And in fact, I was actually, I don't know if this was even really in preparation of the show. I just, listen to the Pixies occasionally. I've really gotten into this mode, especially throughout the work week in the evening before my daughter Ava goes to bed, my youngest daughter. We watch music videos because she absolutely is fascinated sometimes with live music performances.
Mm-hmm.
Even from an infant stage, we watched like a Cave-In live performance whenever their first live show returned in Boston.
Right.
It might have either been in Boston or St. Vitus. I can't remember which now. But it was their first live show return post-COVID. And we sat on the couch and watched it. And as a baby, infant, she stared at the screen the entire time and was somber.
Right.
So that's kind of a thing that she and I share. So more to present day and get this back into the Pixies. We were watching a video for Gouge Away that they did for a radio performance. And Kim Deal's bass line in particular, now present day, my daughter Ava, a little over a year old, she was bobbing her head and dancing, and she really loves the Pixies and Kim Deal's bass playing as well. So, but yeah, Gouge Away is a song that will hook you. Again, if you're looking for iconic rock bass lines, go to Gouge Away on Doolittle, Kim Deal. It is a perfect example of her bass playing. And then, of course, she does some backing vocals and call. And the other thing, too, that I should have to mention about her performance and contributions to the Pixies, I'm a big call and respond guy in music.
Right.
And there's a lot of that interplay vocally between her and Black Francis. Yeah. So those guys are just phenomenal. The chemistry that they have, and just, again, iconic. I mean, like, I could go on and on and on. And again, we could go on and on about the people that she's inspired. People like Courtney Barnett, excuse me, the Australian vocalist and guitar player who did the duo album with Kurt Vile.
Right.
Like, man,
oh yeah, she's
so good.
She's good.
So excellent.
Yeah. Or the people like even the people who like when she left the Pixies, like the one I really had to. I didn't realize that, dude. We're picking up a little thing. She uses the same Dunlop picks that I do. The green Tortex picks. The green Dunlops with a little turtle on them is what it says.
Yeah.
That's the same ones. And I didn't realize that, but that's a cool thing because I picked that up because of James Hetfield.
Oh, okay.
There's a quote from James Hetfield that said if you were to cut Master of Puppets, it would bleed Tortex green.
That's hilarious.
So, anyway, but the people that even exceeded her, another fantastic, just kick-ass rock bassist, vocalist, multi-instrumentalist, female is Paz Canton. Paz she's in the Pixies. She plays with, she played with Billy Corgan and what's his name? It's Matt so it's a dude from Chavez, and pull him up real quick because it's just pull up if you pull up Zwan.
Philip. How do you spell last name?
Huh?
Last name? Here, hold on. Oh, hello.
No. So here, I'll look him up. So anyway, she played with Zwan, which is it's Billy Corgan, some of the guys from Chavez and Skunk.
I don't know how to spell the last name.
Just look on. They only have the one record, "Mary Star of the Sea," but if you look up and check that out, like there's pretty much like alt rock. Alt rock in general was oh no. Yeah. Was it like we were talking about the Pixies and Kim Deal, like So it's Jimmy Chamberlain.
Yeah, Jimmy Chamberlain.
Which is from the Pumpkins with Billy Corgan.
He's played for Pearl Jam, right? I believe.
Jimmy always played with the Pumpkins.
Yeah,
but it's the guy that does the. So we're now fact checking ourselves.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that Jimmy Chamberlain has played in some other prominent.
I'm sure he has, but why can't I remember his name? It's the guy who does guitar moves. You know what I'm talking about?
I'm not sure.
Go back to their band listing and we'll pick it up. There we go. So, let's see here. Personnel. There you go. Matt Sweeney.
Okay.
Matt Sweeney. You'll know him when you see him. Yeah, he was in I think Chavez and
yeah, he
Skunk.
was in Chavez.
Yeah, and then David Pajo is the other one. So that record is fantastic. But we keep talking about that one. But she also played with A Perfect Circle.
Yeah,
and she played with Bright Black Morning Light and Silver Jews.
Yeah, Silver Jews.
Silver Jews is awesome.
So good.
Like I didn't realize until I listened. So first off, that's it's Stephen Malkmus from Pavement is in that band too, and it's so cool. Like it's just so worth.
Rest in peace. That fella passed away here in the last year or so. I want to say as well. Gentleman from Silver.
We got to bring the vibe down.
Yeah.
I know there's some more things I'm sure we're going to talk about bringing the vibe down because
what's that? Punks in the Streetlights or Punks in the Silver Jews song? I just saw that in a movie. It was perfectly placed. Now, for the life of me, I cannot remember it. But God, man, what a song! So emotional. But yeah, dude, Silver Jews is
his lyrics. That dude's lyrics are just insane.
Yeah, they definitely capture like moments in time in life too.
He passed. That guy passed. He took his own life.
Unfortunately,
yeah. He had struggled on for a long time with heroin addiction, and was a sort of a functional addict for a really long time. And a lot of his lyrics deal with that.
Punks in the Beer Light, that's what it is. Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Perfect name for a song too.
Absolutely,
by the way.
Absolutely.
Great, man. And yeah, so many people have covered that song too. Even Kurt Vile, brought up his name earlier. One of my favorite artists. You guys see me wear his shirts on the show, but yeah, man. Oh God, what a fucking artist for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, back to Paz.
Kills. She also played with Jarbo, which like a lot of people, if you don't like Jarbo's noise artist, and she did that record with Neurosis. She did a whole record with Neurosis.
Yeah, I mean, we could just go through a whole list of fucking projects that she's been involved with. So A Perfect Circle, every iteration with the exception of Cage the Elephant, their most recent album, she's been involved with them. The Pixies on 4 different contributions. Let's see here: Ashes Divide, Entrance,
Jenny Lewis,
Backlight Morning Light, Jenny Lewis, yes, Josephine Foster.
She played with Melissa Oftermar.
Yeah.
She played with
Queens of the Stone Age, on Songs of the Deaf. No less. Yes, fantastic.
And then, I mean, you got some other stuff, like she played with, like, Trust Company, but that's, like, strings piano. She's a hired gun to some respect.
Right.
Which, I mean, that's cool. Like, you get a lot of people with really, really good, like, really good chops.
Oh, yeah.
That way, like Carol Kane.
And from Argentina, too.
Yes.
Paz's.
Argentinian.
Yes. All right, so Paz was Joey's next pick.
Oh no, I was just talking about because you were talking about the picks.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, our last 2 are the same. Me and Barrett. We're embarrassingly enough, we picked the last two the same.
Well, let's do this. Let's start with Stevie Nicks then. So Stevie Nicks is my next pick.
Okay.
Stevie Nicks, solo artist, as well as from legendary rock band Fleetwood Mac, and Rumors is an all-time favorite album for me. Probably a desert island album for me, depending on the number of albums that I can take, perhaps in the top 5.
So I'll say that. So she was my number 1.
Okay.
And now I did cheat a little bit because I went number 1 and I gave her a 2-way tie with Christy McVie.
Okay.
Because
you can't not talk about Fleetwood Mac and not mention Christy McVie.
Yeah.
Also, rest in peace.
Yeah.
Recently.
Sorry to hear that one. I was really, really bummed about that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Stevie, I mean, and you said Rumors?
Yes.
Yes, Rumors, every song on that's a banger.
A lot of people, it's always like I feel like with Fleetwood Mac, it's always like the Rumors versus Tusk. If you're a big Fleetwood Mac fan.
It depends on. So you said desert island, right?
Right.
It depends on how much cocaine I have on that desert island.
Yeah.
Because Tusk, the whole cover should be white powder.
Yeah.
It is Lindsey Buckingham writing that whole band.
Yeah.
Just finding out what cocaine does.
Yeah.
Just experimenting, being real scientists about it.
Yeah.
So that one that's killer. I mean, you can't overstate some of it though. Like she's just got the voice. She's just one of those killer, like, it's smoky and it's like it's a hot voice. It really is. Like, you hear that and it's very attractive.
Agreed.
Voice.
She's an all-time like rock crush for me. They're like went viral maybe about probably about 8 years ago, I would say. Was a backstage clip of her singing Wild Heart while she was getting her hair and makeup done.
Right.
And I believe it was either one of the background singers or maybe even the hairstylist. It's been a while since I've seen it now. Duet with her in the back while she's warming up for the show.
Right.
And it's just her in a room and her voice. And dude, the first time I heard it, water started just leaking from both sides of my eyes.
Oh yeah.
Immediately. And it wasn't even like a sad cry. It was just like, it was so powerful. It just struck me emotionally that I just like started crying like profusely.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's just like so, like, her voice is just so haunting, and the skill, it was just so beautiful. I cried. You know,
I don't blame you. There's certain things, or they'll bring up, like, you get the full body goosebumps like that. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Like, for me, it's a little different. Mine was always there was a documentary about the Eagles, of all things.
Yeah.
And it starts off and it's them. There's no instruments and they're just doing their vocal warm up, which is Seven Bridges Road, which is like 5-part harmony.
Yep.
And they are
nail it,
destroying it. Like they are they are hitting it out of the park. And this is just they're like, oh, let's just warm up. Like they threw it out there like it was nothing.
Dude, I didn't know this, but like, isn't Vince Gill in the fucking Eagles now? Somebody told me this, and I was like shocked, and I like went to go look it up, and I'm like, "What? This is crazy."
I mean, that'd be kind of cool.
It is kind of cool.
Like that's I mean, it's not the same caliber, but
no,
that's like Isaiah Mitchell was in the Black Crowes, like from Earthless.
Yeah,
and dude, Ike Mitch, man, that I love. Isaiah, like, I love listening to that guy play guitar, and I didn't realize he could sing as good as he could.
Yeah.
He is killer. So let's find out.
The last several years he's joined them.
Okay.
So yeah, he's like on their tours and things like that. But John Henley and Joe Walsh, actually, this all ties in, funny enough, and Joey mentions the Eagles, and that moment that he had hearing Seven Bridges Road is the fact that Stevie Nicks was partners with both Don Henley for a period of time, as well as Joe Walsh, for I think both like about a 2-year run, somewhere in that.
Yeah.
Obviously Lindsey Buckingham, but everybody dated everybody in Fleetwood Mac.
Yeah, it was just a sort of a thing.
Yeah, which, I mean... Yeah, play with all these people, and you've got, women and men, and
I want to hear
involved.
Honestly, now that I think about it, think of what you could have accomplished. Like, say if Stevie Nicks and Don Henley had written duets.
Oh my God! Don't even.
Those two voices together would have
been incredible.
It's like Robert Plant and Alison Krauss.
Yes, absolutely.
By the way, that sounds like one voice.
Yeah.
Like when I heard the record they did with T-Bone Burnett.
Right.
That
first record, right?
It literally, their voices just sit together.
Yeah.
Perfectly.
Yeah.
It sounds like someone can sing with, like, it sounds like there's one person, not even double tracking. It just sounds like it's coming out of the same mouth at the same time.
Right. I actually bought for my wife, Mother's Day, the ability for her and my oldest daughter, Aurora, to go see Willie Nelson. Willie Nelson's an all-time favorite artist of my wife. So they're playing up in St. Louis, and the second headliner is Alison Krauss and Robert Plant.
That's a killer. So and I think Trample My Turtles is with them too.
I don't know, like,
I think
they advertise a lot of bands for that tour,
right.
But unfortunately there's only so many bands that are actually on it. So they said that Kurt Vile and the Violators were going to be there as well. What's another? Is it Nathan Ratfield or Randolph?
Yeah.
I can't remember his damn name.
I know you're talking about.
But yeah, like, suppose he's kind of like a post-punky
country-ish.
Alt country.
Yeah,
in that realm. But
But I know, so
Thinking
I know for
Nathaniel
sure
Ratcliffe.
so I know for sure the St. Louis location or the St. Louis one,
Yeah.
Trampled by Turtles is playing. Which I mean, there's a couple of real killers.
Yeah.
Like first off, they covered the Pixies.
Yeah.
They did a really good cover of "Where's My Mind."
Yeah.
And they have a couple of
That
songs
is
that are
good.
just jaw droppers, like "Widower's Heart" and "Methodism in Middle America" are both just absolutely gorgeous. I found those completely randomly on like a playlist that somebody else from work had brought in, and they just had like a little speaker set up where it would play like random stuff.
Right.
That there's a couple things. Highway Song. There's not them. This is a different guy, but I heard a couple of songs that just now they're like stuck in my brain forever.
Sure.
Highway Song. I think it's by Black Hawk. It's like sort of a country song, a little bit.
Yeah.
Like it's like that country Leonard Skinner-ish type thing.
Yeah, because like Southern rock.
Southern rock. I'd say Southern rock's a fair descriptor of it.
So back into Stevie Nicks, I had a few other things I want to mention before we move on to Joey and I's last picks, and that is the fact I mentioned the Wild Heart experience that I had when I saw that kind of backstage scene. Kind of other big moments, of course. I mean, how can you not? I just this is a big memory for me too. You know, I have to tie my music into real life events, but I just gotten Rumors on vinyl, and it was a little time after my dad had passed, and Aurora, my oldest daughter, we had my sisters over. We'd just gotten a new house we'd moved into, and I just remember it was just, it's kind of sensory memory type stuff,
Right.
We had the windows open in the house. It was like a good, fresh, like spring breeze was coming through the house. We had this on, and I was actually sitting with a banjo,
right,
and playing by ear, just kind of doing some impromptu type playing along with the Rumors record.
right.
And Aurora was just a baby on the floor, and I had her doing like tummy time and stuff, and my sisters were over, and my sisters are really good singers.
Right.
So they were singing like harmonies and stuff along with the Rumors record that we had playing in the background, and I was doing improv banjo lines and stuff under it, and it was like one of the most electric musical experiences, and it was just so random and on the spot at the time that I've ever had in my life.
I always loved things like that, like
I think
just
like
weird random things, like even when just things you have synchronicities that tie in,
yes,
like that. I can remember just like being like playing guitar, and I would just I would always have the TV or something running in the background, right, and I'd start playing something, or I'd be listening to music on my headphones or something, and I would realize these two pieces, like whatever was playing on the TV plus whatever was going on either in my headphones or with my guitar started like to sync up.
Yeah.
Or they would start, and it's just, whew.
Yeah,
it's
chilling.
Like, it feels like the whole world, it feels like the weave
Truman
and weft,
shows happening.
Yeah, the weave and weft of the world just meet.
Yeah. Another big kind of sensory memory related thing I have to mention as well is the fact that my daughter Aurora's first concert ever was Stevie Nicks. We took her to the it was something in Gold tour in, I want to say 2017. I think that's right. And maybe Concrete and Gold or something to that effect. We took her to that tour, and Stevie Nicks did both solo and obviously Fleetwood Mac songs, and had a great backing band. I believe Brandi Carlile opened for her, did some songs. Yeah, they're buddies. And Stevie came out, and what's cool about Stevie is she's a storyteller. She, in between songs, was telling personal anecdotes and things like that as well.
Right.
So it was really cool to hear some of that. And she went into, and this was like, I want to say not long after Prince had passed as well. So she went on about her actual friendship with Prince and the fact that he had come down to the studio when she was recording her first solo album. And this is originally, I want to say, there was some story there with her involvement with Little Red Corvette, like he was gonna give it to her, but she didn't want to take it,
right,
or something like that. But yeah, Stevie actually on her first couple solo records, people don't realize is Tom Petty had a lot to do with her and her musical arrangements, and has credits for several of her songs.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
And Edge of 17 is one of my absolute favorite rock songs ever. I think it's just fantastic.
It's a better version of Eye of the Tiger.
Yes, I agree. Yeah, for sure. And I never made that correlation, but yeah, I could see that for sure, especially kind of the chuggy guitar part.
Yeah.
But yeah, just like her vocals, and then whenever it all just kicks in together with the harmonies and everything, like just such a powerful voice. So I tie that memory of that concert back into, once again, just hearing those stories that I've never heard before about her relationships with her friends, other friends in the music industry. And I'm a big Prince fan and a big Tom Petty fan who kind of died real close to each other as well. And so she had a lot of stories about them. And I think, again, because of the freshness, that was kind of a point of conversation for her
Yeah,
on
that
the
was
tour.
Tom Petty's was one that, man, really hurt too. Like,
Oh,
I
dude,
didn't
I
realize
cried.
the sheer volume of like
I cried.
Tom Petty music that is just soaked into like it's just part of your life. You don't even notice it, and it's part of your life.
I think like the first, well, they happened all so close together, but kind of my first like deaths in music that had an impact on me so bad was Kurt Cobain, Lane Staley, Tupac, and Biggie, because I just, this is me striking out on my own finally and liking, music of my own that like my dad isn't influencing, right? So although my dad was a fan of the grunge movement to a degree, but he was a big Alice in Chains fan, of course. So the Lane thing probably hit him worse than the Kurt Cobain thing. Yeah. But those guys, that impacted me pretty bad. But I want to say that was all within like an 18-month window, if not shorter, that all four of those guys died.
Staley died. No, Staley died later on.
Oh yeah, that's right. In the early 2000s, right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I was kind of misappropriating, but I know he died close to the date of Kurt Cobain's death.
That's correct. That is correct. Yeah. He died, if not
that's
the same,
what it was.
Or they found him on the same day, and he had died a little bit before.
I gotcha. Yeah. I think it was like 2002, maybe, when he passed, or early 2000.
Yeah, he had lived longer than I thought he was going to.
Yeah,
being a gold-plated junkie for as long as he was.
Absolutely.
A person with real bad substance abuse.
Well, problems. If you hear like Mark Lanigan's stories, like that he has, like he was actually a personal runner for a lot of these like old bands,
right?
Like, and that's another iconic voice from the Screaming Trees.
Oh yeah, and his solo stuff.
And he did stuff with Bella from Bella and Sebastian as well.
Yeah.
And he Queens of the Stone Age again did stuff with them. Yeah, fantastic grovelly voice, just an iconic.
We can branch out forever. Yeah. So Stevie Nicks, I mean, you just have to look at. I mean, just if you looked at the body of just Fleetwood Mac alone,
worth
she would be on this list,
or even her solo career,
or just if you picked either one of those things separately,
and she's pop culture too at this point.
And right, and that's a good thing.
The White Witch,
the
most iconic, I guess, moniker for her.
Yes, yeah. And that's where Rhiannon came from. She said it's the name of an old Welsh witch.
Yeah,
I remember reading that years ago. And there's some things I will always think of her with, and it's that and "Stop Dragging My Heart Around."
Oh god,
which is just that song is so good. And
I'm just starting to get goosebumps.
Oh, I know. When you take those two voices, because Tom Petty had that real Florida drawl. Yeah, he always had that. If you listen, you can hear it. Even that's like he's got a real super Southern drawl because he's there's things he'll say like instead of like word, he'll say void. That's real Southern.
Yeah.
I still remember another one that sticks out to me is sitting and watching, dude, of all things, we finally got where we could stay up late and watch Saturday Night Live.
Sure.
And
that's a big thing. And
watching, there's two, and these are some of the most electrifying moments I've seen. And I forgot for a long time, but I saw when they did Honeybee with Dave Grohl playing drums.
Yeah.
I saw that live, or like not live, but I saw it on SNL.
Yeah.
And first off, Dave Grohl, you can tell, is having a blast.
Oh yeah.
He's playing like John Bonham on that song. He's just going nuts.
Yeah.
And Honeybee has already got a vibe to it anyway. Like it's got like a real gritty, like garagey type of by Led Zeppelin by way of the garage vibe to it.
Right.
And then I remember that one, so that just stuck in my head forever. And then it kind of drifted away, and then they'd put out what's the record? Is Mojo, I think is what it's called. And I Should Have Known It is on it. And that has got, if you want to see like just absolute authority, like somebody like a band with absolute authority on stage who look like gods of rock on the stage, watch them, find that SNL performance they did of I Should Have Known It.
Yeah.
Because it is like that. Mike Campbell is just like shredding it. And that riff is filthy. That riff sounds like a Molly Hatchet riff, or even like some of the Led Zeppelin riffs. That riff is raunchy.
Agreed. 100% agreed. Yeah, and so, guys, for the sake of time, I think we're going to transition into our final pick. The big moment is upon us.
We got a
Get
soundboard.
Bjork.
Me and
Hell
him both
yeah.
had Bjork.
Bjork. Oh my God! Now that we could do a whole episode on Bjork without question.
Absolutely.
I'm just going to quickly list probably my top 3 or 4. Actually, I'm going to throw a wild card in there too, and I'll give a reason for it. So I'm just going to bang off some of my favorite albums from Bjork. So I just have to say in order, probably Homogenic, Vespertine, Post, and it would be might be a tie between Debut and Volta. But Volta I have to mention because I think it's an overlooked album by her. Volta came out in the mid 2000s, and I actually like randomly came across it at a pawn shop, like shortly after it came out because I guess somebody bought it, didn't like it, took it to pawn shop. I don't really know the backstory, but I was just kind of acquiring some physical media to have in my collection. I grabbed Volta on CD,
right.
and at the time I only had a CD player in my car, kind of older car or whatever. So I always had to listen to CDs, and Volta was something that was like heavy in my rotation that I feel like has been overlooked in her catalog in particular. So, but yeah, those are some of I'll start the conversation by just saying that those are some of my favorite records. And I know, Joey, before we started recording, we were talking about some of your favorite records. You want to?
Yeah. So mine, like I really liked Medulla when I heard it. Like Medulla's, it's got a very interesting vibe to it.
Definitely.
But like mine go this way, like Post. Like if I had to pick a top 3, like Post, and it's weird because Post it's the first one that I heard. Okay.
Yeah.
And it's like hyper ballads on there, and I think Big Army of Me is on there, and Big Time Sensuality.
Yep.
And those all just are bangers.
Oh yeah.
But then I heard I think honestly I'd heard Vespertine.
Yes.
Vespertine I picked out on my own.
Right.
So, but Homogenic, I just remember playing music with you and Ridge, and we would listen to that record all the time.
Yep, that was heavy in our rotation.
That one, so for the whole time, and you have to imagine, we played in like what is essentially like a noise hardcore sludge band.
Sludge in there.
Yeah. And this is what we were listening to.
Right.
Like this is what was putting us in the headspace to do this, because Homogenic, yes, it's gorgeous, but it is gloomy. So doomy. Like
that's why it's my favorite.
I absolutely love, and it takes, and it'll have these real sinister starts, and then it just goes into pure sunshine.
Unravel might actually be my favorite song ever.
Oh yeah, and that's an odd one. Like if you ever, there's
that voice,
and the way that song is written, like the way that it's actually like. It's like a 15/8 pattern or something.
Yeah, it's a very untraditional. But the flow of it, you wouldn't suspect that, but whenever you actually start clicking it out in your mind.
And that's what I love about things like that. Yeah. Like you listen to Radiohead, and Radiohead does the same thing.
A lot of that.
Like, and Bjork is, like, she is the queen of that. Like 100, like you listen, you'll hear you'll hear pulses that syncopate against what she's singing.
Right.
And you'll hear, like, listen to it back again, you're like, that doesn't repeat in the same way. It's different.
Right.
And dude, I'm getting chills thinking about like the arrangements of these things. Like I remember me and you and Ridge, we would go over to that apartment above Nature's Cup, and we would listen to that and watch live videos. And just be astonished. Because remember, you had that thing with it was like the big,
Reactable is what it was called.
The big table thing. And we'd watch her build a song on it.
Yeah.
And I would just get. So for me though, yes, Homogenic's number 2. It's hard, and this was a hard fought one for me, but Vespertine is my number 1. All day long,
just because of Unravel and all is full of love is the reason that I've got Homogenic at my number 1. In particular,
that's got,
and the iconic cover as well.
Oh
the symmetry where they took a picture of her, like and just doubled it over.
Yeah, and I'm more
Hunter too. You can't forget
Hunter. Joga.
Yeah,
that's got so many good songs on it. But Vespertine, So Vespertine, what sold me, before I'd ever heard it, I had watched, so the deal with it is all the percussion on that album, and this is what put my jaw on the floor on it. So it's all sample based, which I mean, that's nothing new, like sample based, but it's not drums. It's all like cracking ice or rice cereal,
stomping in the snow.
Stomping in the snow. Yeah, people like literally breaking through the crust of snow, or like waves or like seashells in a bag. It's all like wild stuff, and it feels like this found thing. Like it reminds me a lot. Like I like a lot of like odd stuff, like not odd, but like if you listen to like the Books, or like Boards of Canada, like it's got that same or very similar vibe to it, where you listen to it and it's, I hate to say it because it's so trendy, but it's like an ASMR record. It really is. It gives me.
It definitely is.
If you put it on headphones and listen, it just gives me like 100%. Ear cans. It's brain delight. Like I hear it and it's just like I can just feel it in my head. Right. I remember talking to you before about like the disintegration loops. It's the same thing. This it just same migrates. Sensation. It just sits in your chest. And like in such a good way.
Some of my favorite tracks on that record too, Vespertine, is Pagan Poetry, Sun in Your Mouth, and then how can I not mention the fact Aurora? It's my daughter's my oldest daughter's name, who is technically, it kind of started with Aurora, Colorado, and our experiences out there, and then Aurora Borealis. But there's so many good bands that have songs with Aurora. So there's Foo Fighters have a song, Aurora. Bjork has a song. Meat Puppets has a song. They're all fantastic.
The thing for me, and I said before I had ever heard this, I saw her doing a live rehearsal. This is the early YouTube. Okay. And I remember she was in unison, and she was in a loft with her whole band and like a harp player and like all this stuff, and they were doing unison, and it's just, the thing is, she's not holding a microphone, but she's just belting it, and you could like, and there's strings and like I said, a harp, and there's drums, and she is going over the top of it and just nailing it.
Agreed, 100%.
Yeah, and then she's got such fun, like they're very deep lyrics, but she can also be very fun.
I agree.
Like I love in I think it's Hunter. There's a lyric that I thought I could organize freedom. How very Scandinavian of me.
Scandinavian of me. She goes up. Oh my god. Yeah, like just some of the vocal runs.
Yeah. Bachelorette's a killer too, man. Bachelorette
really into that.
Yeah. Just so Hunter and Yoga one into the other, and then that whole the first four, so what would essentially be almost the A side of that record, just kills too.
Yep.
And
that's another thing.
We're back on talking about homogenic. But.
Yeah, she's an artist. I don't know necessarily that she did this on purpose, mind you, but this is just me as a listener of music. That used to be an intent. When you crafted a record, you made an A side and then a B side. So like all your hits were front loaded, if you will. And record companies wanted you to do that because that was kind of the advertisement to hook you to listen to the entire record, if you will.
Right.
And Bjork is an artist, like if you're a big fan of her, like you will notice that the B-sides, in more cases than not, especially in her early work, whenever albums were crafted that way on purpose by labels, like there's so many hidden gems on the B-side.
Oh, absolutely.
And like on Homogenic specifically, All of Full of Love is probably my second favorite Bjork song, and it's there.
Oh yeah, it's dead last. That's the same on Vespertine. Unison is the last song, so unless you hang in there,
you're gonna miss something.
You're gonna miss something special.
Absolutely.
Like, and that's the way that it was wrote. Like you had all these things, and plus you have like Alarm Call. Like there's songs in there that really are they're worthy inclusions.
Yeah.
Like I've seen some people, and that's what I love. Like, and I won't get off on too big of a tangent, but dude, I've been absolutely obsessed with the Wonder Years here lately.
Sure.
And they put out The Hum Goes On Forever, and that album, every song I enjoy, like legitimately enjoy every song on it. And you can hear where they wrote in A, B. If you listen to Abbey Road, okay?
Right.
Abbey Road, what's the A side end with?
A side ends with
It's I Want You. She's So Heavy.
yes, it does.
So it comes on this real minor, like doom.
Yeah,
like,
yes.
Coroner
Oh my
covered
God,
that
yeah,
song.
the second half of that.
And then the
She's
second. Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, dude. You can hear that influence in like people say that Sabbath invented the riff. Dude, She's So Heavy has one of the
Has
one of the
heavy-
heaviest riffs.
Helter Skelter is pretty.
It's
massive
up
as
there
well.
too.
Yeah.
But what do they start the B side with? Here Comes the Sun.
Yeah, a total mood shift.
So
Yeah.
and you have that. You have these things, and when I clocked it, they end that record. They end Home Goes On Forever. The first half of it ends with Summer Clothes, which is real super. It's real mellow, acoustic based, and builds a little bit and gets us this nice big anthem at the end. And then the next one is, gosh dang it, it's not Songs About Death, but I've got the record. It's in my top. Like if you go here, like
one thing I want to mention about Bjork too, while you're looking that up,
go ahead.
is the fact that Bjork, not to take anything away from a lot of the other artists that we talk about, but a lot of the other artists that we even talked about today, with the exception of like a Fiona Apple being one, have not only are they the ones performing on the album, but they wrote their music, they wrote the lyrics to their music, and produced. Like as far as the talent that is Bjork, like it's hard to quantify her skills even in the music hemisphere.
Yeah, there's not a real life.
Can do.
Yeah, there's not an equal parallel.
No, there isn't.
Because even people like say, Fiona Apple does it, to an extent, but Bjork, is putting everything there, and not only that, but the concepts.
Right.
And
exactly.
That's what makes people want to
again
collaborate with her too.
Yeah, with anything that she does.
Like if you look, I think on its Medulla is the one Mike Patton did songs with her, man.
Oh yeah. How could we not mention that?
Yeah,
for sure.
Like she's that big of an influence on everybody.
Yeah,
it's
she's single-handedly responsible for changing Radiohead's sound.
Yeah, absolutely.
She has been accredited with that. That's why they made about 2000. They made their big shift, and we have to mention again, piece of shit guy now, but Kanye West when he did his 808 and Heartbreak album, a lot of influence again there on his record and his producing from Bjork specifically. So I had to mention those. But
I do pick that up. A big part of what I caught from him though is with that one was Tears for Fears.
I agree.
Like there's a real big Tears for Fears vibe. He even samples some stuff on I think Coldest Winter samples the Tears for Fears song of the same name.
Yeah. I gotta mention as well too. I think a low key banger that came out last year that didn't get as much attention as it should have was Bjork's album Fosora, and I really loved that album. I only actually listened to it. She did this during like COVID lockdowns too, as well, so I kind of listened to it in that context. But she was like, again, it's just like you listen to a Bjork album and you might have an expectation like. I don't know if you're like this, but like once you have a favorite record of somebody, it's hard to like beat that.
I think we've talked about it. Yeah.
And a lot of that does have to do with like emotional ties and stuff. But Bjork, like I can listen to, and she's an artist that you can listen to their album once and it just like rings in your mindscape for days.
That's what I was saying.
I had that impression.
I kind of pointed that out because like I had said, so the first thing that I had listened to, and this is my sister's credit, my sister, and she's responsible for a lot of things like that. Like my sister introduced me to like Yola Tango, and Bjork was a big one.
Yeah.
And so Apples in Stereo, lots of stuff like that.
Yeah.
But Bjork, I remember specifically going to visit her. She was in college at she went to what's it in Cape? What's the one in Cape?
Simo.
Yeah, I don't know why I couldn't remember that. That's right, because I went to SMS when I was in high school for that band camp thing.
Yeah.
But she had Post on CD, and I brought my little Walkman with me, and she had like one of those weird, like, it wasn't a bunk, but it was a cubby. Like
Yeah.
the bunk sat like as high as this table.
Yeah.
And like I just rolled and put blankets under there and made a pallet, and I would
Yeah.
sit and listen to Post and like just over and over and over again. So my sister's responsible for my love of Bjork.
Yeah, that's cool.
But as soon as I heard other things, as soon as I heard, because I actually heard Vespertine before I heard Homogenic.
Yeah.
And as soon as I heard that, like Post, I really loved it. But as soon as I heard Vespertine, I was like, oh my God, this is like, it's. And again, everyone you listen to, you like, this is a piece of art. Like it's a little piece of art you can hold in your hands.
Yeah, 100%.
And that's the thing with physical media that's so like important is one, giving people that you love that, that ability, like, to continue to do what they want to do by you helping to put that out there, because art's not free.
Agreed.
And the medium is not even free. Like,
no.
I've invested significant amounts of money in music. You've invested significant amounts of money in music equipment.
Yeah.
You're a drummer. I know you've spent probably more money than me on drums.
Unconscionable amounts. I'd say at least 5 figures.
Oh, I know. I get yelled at. My pedal board is probably $2,000.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, a couple other points I want to make on Bjork before we wrap up her in particular, and that is, I have to mention her music videos. That's another aspect of her, especially, mid to late 90s, things off of Homogenic and Vespertine in particular. If you haven't checked them out, check them out. They are a mind trip.
Oh, Al is Full of Love is a wild video.
It is. And not, if you want a recommended pairing, have a little bit of the, and check that out. That's my personal recommendation. So
practice bird calling.
Yeah. Yes, definitely. So music videos. And then the second thing I want to mention is her filmography.
Oh, yeah.
Dancer in the Dark, Lars von Trier movie, is absolutely one of the best dramas as far as a movie that I've ever seen. And she has a fantastic performance in that as the co-leads.
And it's weird because there's the musical aspect of it.
Yes.
I get so, like, you want to talk about a movie that is pure anxiety for me. I remember watching this. It came on, like, IFC, and I'm like, that's Bjork.
Yeah.
It says Lars von Trier. I caught it right at the very beginning.
Right.
Like, credits and everything.
Nice.
And it comes up, and I'm like, oh, what's this? This ought to be interesting. Already knowing the absolute mind fuck that I've seen of Lars von Trier movies before. Knowing that he's just going to wreak emotional havoc on me. And that's exactly what it did. By the time I was done, I was just like a ball of anxiety. And look at the cast, man. The cast, Catherine Deneuve, David Morse. David Morse is super underrated as an actor.
And Peter Stormare.
Peter Stormare, he's great.
Great actor.
Yeah. So, I mean, in Lars von Trier, that seems to be what his goal is just to mess with your emotions.
Absolutely. Yeah, Dancer in the Dark is a great movie. I highly recommend it. And I have to also mention her more recent, and I just love this casting of her. She was in The Northman.
Yeah, she's like she's like the witch. Yeah,
yes.
She's, or what you would like. I'm not sure what you would call it in that actual context in the Viking, like the Satru context.
Right.
But so considered to be what the Seeress is what it says.
Seeress is what she's labeled as. Yeah.
But it's
an English word for prophet, and the translation is compound of Greek word derived from pro and Phaesian, to tell.
So if we were to go like if you just wanted to go with the Greek, she's an oracle in that movie.
Yes, exactly, perfect.
Yeah, and that movie is oof. I saw that. Me and Brad Sexton went and saw that in the theater.
Yeah.
Like, me and him are movie buddies. We go to the movies together all the time.
Yeah.
And that was one we had to go see it.
Yeah.
And I think it's the third Eggers movie that starts with a bird flying overhead.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
I didn't think about that, actually.
Yeah, because I think
All-star
The Witch
cast,
does. Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Just they pulled out absolutely all the stops.
And Anya Taylor-Joy, Ethan Hawke.
Claes Bong is really good in that too.
Yes. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Brooding. Incredible actor too.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And he
played a good Dracula, man.
Yeah, he's like a great period piece actor.
He is, absolutely. Dude, I ended up watching that Dracula series he was on. He's actually really, really good. He is enthralling to watch.
Yeah.
On that.
He was in Sherlock too.
Yes.
Yeah, Sherlock, great show. But yeah, man, Bjork. Any other points that you want to make about Bjork before we wrap it up, Joey?
As far as that one goes, I mean, I think we can't say enough about her, so we could end up rambling. But
Oh, for sure.
like, I had some honorable mentions, and like, I've got like something like I had an honorable mention.
Let's if you want to do one that you want to lean into heavy, go for it. Or if you just want to do a quick list, I've got just a quick list of people that I want to mention that I heavily considered for mine. So I'll just kind of get it start off, and then you can make your decision on how you want.
Absolutely. So I had one. So I only have one honorable mention actually listed. The rest of them are just awesome people.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to just make a list, but just for time's sake, we just kind of wanted to keep it efficient. So I'm just going to hit my quick list here. So I talked about Christina Mitchell recently on a podcast that we did with Physical Media. It was a crossover with Waxing On whenever we were talking about best bands and side projects, second acts. Christina Mitchell, I mentioned, she's in Gouge Away, and she also played bass for Nothing on their last tour whenever they toured with Boris. And her bass playing was phenomenal. I was wondering how she would pair with them, and the pairing was excellent. She did some backing vocals. I hope that she continues to be in Nothing. The prior bassist in Nothing, of course, is the lead singer of Jesus Piece, and Aaron, and he has limited like travel things and custody issues. So that's why Aaron just went back to doing Jesus Piece, and she filled in for them. But her contributions to Gouge Away, if you listen to the most recent Gouge Away single, and this is just my opinion, I've talked about my band briefly a little bit here on the show, my last band that I was in, Meyer Giants. I feel like that our band was trending toward, and we didn't have any singles released in this vein, if you will, but the most recent Gouge Away single, I feel like, is kind of where our band was going, musically wise.
I'll have to check
as
them
well.
out because
So, yeah,
first off, they've got
great.
the Pixies name there.
Yeah, and then so I'm going to go ahead and punch off the rest of mine. I know I kind of talked about her a little bit too much, but Chelsea Wolfe, we mentioned her earlier. Got to mention her. Joey mentioned Emma Ruth Randall. She's another one of my favorite. She's done so much.
Marriages.
Solo work,
Marriages is so
contributions to Red Sparrows and Drab Majesty as well. Drab Majesty is a awesome dark wave post-punk band that I recommend folks checking out in particular.
I do like dark wave and post-punk.
Absolutely. Karen O. Yeahs and solo work. You have to talk Danger. She's done stuff with Danger Mouse, right?
Yeah,
as well. So Karen O. Soundtracks, Where the Wild Things Are in particular. Check that out. Debbie Harry, solo, Blondie. She is beautiful. She's in one of my absolute favorite movies ever, Videodrome, and she can sing. So, she's the total package in my opinion. Joan Jett. Have to mention Joan Jett. Her solo work as well as her work with the Runaways. Iconic, groundbreaking, breaking through glass ceilings.
Plus her work at shutting down Ted Nugent for being an absolute chauvinist piece of shit.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, God, that was so satisfying.
Yes, absolutely. Brandon mentioned Dolores O'Riordan. She was in my honorable mentions. Pat Benatar, we have to mention.
Right.
Kim Gordon from Sonic Youth. I could have easily put her in my top 5. Again, I was just kind of going for variety, and I felt like she was kind of in that same realm or heat of musicians as Kim Deal, so that's kind of why I made those decisions there. Susie and the Banshees. You have to mention Susie Sue. She was a great fucking artist as well. Shirley Manson from Garbage and Angelfish, another great one. And my last honorable mentions, Marissa Nadler from Solo Work and Jerome Flower in particular. Another great iconic voice. She's kind of in that heat with Chelsea Wolfe and Emma Ruth Randall. As far as artists are concerned, they're kind of both on that same independent circuit, and very haunting female voices out there that I could listen to for days.
Oh, absolutely.
I'll hand it off to you, Joey.
All right, so I had the one honorable mention. Now, if you can see on my phone, I have scrollable, so this is my list. I have so many people on this list. Now, honorable mention, as far as stuff I've just been digging into here lately, specifically, that's just been forefront of my mind, is my honorable mention is Phoebe Bridgers.
Nice.
Because Phoebe Bridgers, first off, Punisher is an absolute amazing, just front to back album. It's there's so much heart in it, and it's interesting compositions and lots of just fun little arrangement pieces you'll hear in there. She plays guitar herself. She plays baritone, which I'm a long boy myself. I got a baritone at home that I use that in Worlds with Barrett too. But she's a finger picker. She's a songwriter. She's a singer. She's just absolutely kill. And her lyrics, like, she's so good. Like, she's such a good writer with lyrics.
And she's kind of in a similar pack of musicians too with the Boy Genius project.
Oh, Boy
too.
Genius
Just, talk
kills that
about
new the record by Boy Genius
Yeah.
that just came out. Just slay. It's
I believe
absolutely-
they're opening for Taylor Swift right now on
so
her tour, right?
that brings me to my next point. When he initially asked me for this, my top 5, like we were going to discuss our top 5, I said 5-way tie, all the Taylor Swift albums. And then when it was going to either be that or all the Spice Girls.
You could also get into, and when you're talking about Taylor Swift, her collaborations with Bon Iver too.
Oh, absolutely. That's a thing that. So you said I wanted to bring it up a little bit. Stevie Nicks,
Yeah.
Man, Justin Vernon absolutely adores Stevie and Kate Bush. Like,
Yeah.
he's probably. I mean, we're all similar generation.
Yeah.
So we all grew up listening to kind of the same things. And that's Phoebe Bridgers does remind me of that a little bit too. She's sort of the female equivalent for me, which I mean it's not fair to say just female equivalent because she's doing her own thing and she's really
just talk about the Punisher record alone. I mean, that's
Stranger in the Alps is great too.
Top 10 an album just from a critical review standpoint. That is, now, I'm not saying my personal, but maybe top 10 album in the last 10 years.
If you listen to Kyoto or Halloween or even like the big one that I think that got a lot of attention, it's still like, and it got attention for a reason, is I Know the End. And I Know the End is just, I was talking to a buddy that I've been setting up
the timing of it too. The timing of that release as well, because it's like right in the middle of COVID.
Absolutely.
Well.
And yeah, it's a perfect lockdown record.
Yeah.
I mean, it's sad. Like, I sat there, they made a good thing of it on, I already knew about the record, but on Shrinking, the show on the Apple TV with Jason Segel and Harrison Ford, which, by the way,
I haven't watched it yet.
So there's a whole section where they're talking about like a thing that is therapeutic to do is take time, like especially if it's the grieving process.
Sure,
you find something that you take 15 minutes with a song that makes you that just absolutely annihilates you.
Yeah,
and you listen to it and you feel your feelings.
Yeah.
And he goes out it's this Jason Segel, and he goes out on a bike ride.
Yeah.
And he's listening to I Know the End on loop. And it starts off, and it's got that very subtle little finger pick thing. And it comes in, and when it gets to the middle, like the anthem section of it, before the mare sounding like horror end of it, it's just, and it's the last lyrics in it are I turned around, there's nothing there. I guess the end is here.
Yeah.
And it's him riding his bike and he's sobbing and just screaming, "Fuck you, Phoebe Bridgers! Fuck you!"
Yeah, that's great.
Like,
it's funny you brought that thing up about that show, and that's something that I've done in my life. And it wasn't like take 15 minutes per se, but it's definitely like I've went to music in my grieving processes, whether it's with a literal death or end of relationships, because you kind of go through those same emotions, those cavalcade of emotions. And that is like, just the steps of grief, if you will. And I've always went to an album or a set of songs. And often, like, I can just like right now go back to huge breakup album for me was On Letting Go for Circuit Survive, as well as The Devil and God Are Raging Inside Me from Brand New. Oh my God. I just like, so much. Like, I'm just,
I can't listen to Limousine and not cry.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially I remember that had come out and we were listening to it. We were bringing my son home from the hospital. He'd just been born. And I'm like, let's put some music on. And that we put on Limousine. And I was like, nope. Not going to do it. Not going to listen to this song now.
Yeah.
But I've got something, like I said, Don't Give Up. That's a big one for me. Like, for sure. I could put that, actually several Peter Gabriel songs.
Oh, yeah.
Blood of Eden, Washing of the Water, those are ones. Don't Give Up just absolutely slays me, though.
Yes.
Because I associate that very much with, like, the death of my father. And Hard Times, which is the Bifrost Arts, which is the big one, the lead vocal on that. And it's just a vocal harmony piece, but Hard Times is it's a Stephen Foster song, so it's old, but Dave Bazan does a verse of it with like male and female harmony accompaniment on that record.
Cool.
And we sang that at my sister's funeral.
Dave Bazan's a heavy hitter too.
Absolutely. But we sang that, and like to this day I can put it on and I'll lose it.
Yeah.
Or the end of Holocene.
Oh god.
Holocene makes me ugly cry.
Yeah.
Like there's a couple that just like are my go-tos for sadness.
Yeah.
I've texted my wife before, and she's like, and like where I've been like, I've had insomnia real bad before.
Yeah.
And the only thing that'll make it work is like you have this bubble of anxiety and you have to break it. And
I agree.
If you don't break it, then like my wife just texted me before and they're like, yeah, you're still up. Yeah, I'm crying and I'm listening to music, but I'll be done here soon.
Yeah.
Like, and I mean like absolutely like just with a pillow over my face, trying not to be heard.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have to do that. Like I thought it was unhealthy or like there was something wrong with me.
No, it's super healthy actually.
You need to be able to feel like I said, it equates to feeling your feelings.
I agree.
And like when we talk about like these bands, like that's a huge deal for me.
Right.
Is especially some of the female artists, like Phoebe Bridgers. There's a couple that really get me.
Just looking down some of your list too, I just again quick punch list type mentions, but My Bloody Valentine and Slow Dive, those two bands, I'm a huge shoegaze head, and those are like at the top of the list. So
Souvlaki is just an absolute killer.
Think of them or mention them. Another band, Churches, and I guess I would say a newer band, right? Like last decade, 15 years, kind of prominent. And Metric, I would have to mention as well, kind of in the same vein or mention. Yeah. But yeah, both of those are very good.
So I got a kind of a cross section, a mix. Like Lucifer, I put some stars on a couple of them. Yeah. Lucifer is killer, female fronted, just like I'm trying to think of like someone who's got they've got like that, they're filthy ass rock and roll.
Yeah.
Like not like, I won't say like Alabama Thunder Pussy, like something like that, but it's got they remind me a little bit of like, they got like that swing, that boogie to them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just everything I ever put on by them, I'm just like, yeah, man, like I want to like the riffs. And that's what initially brought Annie Lennox to mind, because there's a song, it's the second song on one of their records, and I was listening to it and I was like, oh my god, this girl sounds like Annie Lennox. And I was like, oh Jesus Christ, why am I not gonna, I have to mention her. Thor's Hammer.
Yeah.
You know Thor's Hammer?
Yes.
Yeah, so if you don't, like, get a fucking education, because
absolutely,
Thor's Hammer kills.
I would follow that up with your Bolt Thrower.
Oh, Joe from Bolt Thrower, she is a badass. Bolt Thrower in general, and then you got some stuff like Cretin.
Yeah,
Cretin actually is he's transgendered. He's made the transition. He's female now. Same with Backwash.
Liturgy too. Right?
Liturgy, Hunter. Yeah, I think I can't remember what.
Gina Gleason, I saw on your list, Baroness, but that also brought to mind Reba Myers of Code Orange too.
Oh yeah, Reba's good too.
Yeah, she's.
I saw them do Mouth for War with on 2 Minutes to Late Night.
Yeah,
and I think Lizzie Hale was doing the vocal, and it just
fantastic
plays
too.
I don't know. Reba has. I will say this though. Unfortunately, Reba has the ugliest signature guitar I've ever seen.
Oh yeah, I'm not a big fan of it, but she's a great guitar player.
She is really good. I love really Vipers, and I love the Kirk Hammett, like the reverse headstock on the certain like the Super Strat style. Yeah. But when it comes to when it comes to actually having combining them, it's not the best. So, you got some really cool people. Like I said, Phoebe Bridgers, Boy Genius, they just put a record out, and it kills. It's so good. Lingua Ignata, I really want to point that out. Listen to All Bitches Die and Caligula. Those are heavy and like just apocalyptic. Like there's lyrics in Woe to All on the Day of My Wrath that just sound like they were pulled out of like the meanest parts of the Bible.
Yeah. Purity Ring's another band that I could throw out there. I really like Purity Ring. And what is the name of the band? I think you might know who I'm referring to. That has it's a chick lead singer, but it's the guitarist from Poison the Well.
Sleigh Bells.
Sleigh Bells, that's right. Yeah, Sleigh Bells is fantastic.
you're going to have to point me in a direction for those because I know who it is and I've seen their stuff and I want to stab myself in the eardrums every time I hear them.
Sleigh Bells is pretty
counterpoint.
So Sleigh Bells is like kind of just their whole gimmick is there's a little bit of a hip hop influence there, but it's a guitarist from Poison.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah, I think it's Ryan, isn't it?
I think it is Ryan.
Yeah.
But yeah, who is present day still. Yeah. But anywho, like real heavy guitar riffs, but it's almost like I kind of liken it to a thin but still yet oversaturated Beastie Boys take with a female fronted singer.
Okay.
So they have a lot of songs that are kind of in that ballpark for me. That's just a correlation that I make. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. It's just me. And then Purity Ring is a band that it just mind tripping some of the stuff that they do rhythmically, but beautiful voice, angelic voice.
There's some ripper, man. Just female musicians. There's so many rippers out there. It's just like Gina Gleason, absolutely. Sulin Hago from Propaganda. She's so cool.
I know her.
Yeah, that like she plays. I think she played on Failed States. But I've seen live footage of them and like is tough. Like supporting cast. Like for me as a guitar player, I would say that's a hard fucking record to play. Like you listen to that and it sounds like Capsule or like what's the other one? Loma Prieta. Like real. It's got so many like real tricky ass math and thrash parts and stuff. Yeah. And then you've got stuff like just as far as guitar players alone or like musicians like Carly Cosgrove's really good. Carly Cosgrove's like a math rock band.
Yeah.
Dark Castle, Stevie from Dark Castle kills.
Yeah, Sweet Pill's another one.
Sweet Pill, they're on my list. Sweet Pill is on my list.
And
they actually remind me a lot of like Circus Survive.
Me as well, but a little mathier.
Yeah. Well,
and a little bit more grungy.
Yeah, well, not as Circus Survive gets fairly psychedelic.
Yeah.
When I think about like Spacious is what I think of.
Definitely.
And they're a little more like
I wouldn't call them shoegaze. I wouldn't call Circus Survive shoegaze, but they certainly have like the kind of the pedal bore approach and effects elements or shoegazy, so that makes them kind of.
And then you've got like other ones like Greta Cohn. Greta Cohn played with Cursive on 2 or 3 records. I know my favorite is the Ugly Organ.
Oh man,
and
Ugly. Well, Domestica might be my favorite.
Domestica is really good. I won't disagree. But Domestica, isn't it more of an EP? I think it
is more of an EP. It's a little bit more stripped down too.
Yeah. So, but as far as Greta Cohn makes the Ugly Organ,
I agree.
She absolutely makes the Ugly Organ. Yeah. You listen to Sierra, Staying Alive, Art is Hard.
Yeah.
Anything on there, like everything on there is just made better by her presence. And then, like so there's Sweet Pill right there.
Yeah.
Liz Buckingham from Electric fucking Wizard.
Oh, yeah.
That a lot of people don't think about Electric Wizard when you talk about female musicians, and Liz Buckingham is a ripper.
Agree.
Then, of course, like Darcy Retzky. Darcy played with the Smashing Pumpkins and Filter. Then we talked about Paz. Let's see who else. Marissa Scherer from Fleshwater.
Oh, God. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
Fleshwater is one of my favorite current bands, and they are on tour right now with an awesome punk band. No Pressure, pop punk.
Oh, No Pressure's great, man.
Yeah.
Like I love like DB
and
pop punk.
Koyo is on that tour too.
Who?
Koyo.
Okay.
Got the New Jersey guys. It's got like members of Glassjaw in it and shit.
Oh yeah. I love
pop
Glassjaw.
Punk band.
Wait, they're doing
hardcore.
pop punk?
Pop punk hardcore. It's like
I'm gonna listen to that.
Influence. Yeah.
Who is it from Glassjaw by chance?
I believe it's the bass player, but I'd have to go back and look.
They always rotated bass.
But they kind of rotate players.
Didn't they had another one.
Really, the only people that are in the band is Daryl and the guitarist, like present day that were in it previously.
Yeah. So a couple more, and these we're getting before. So first off, we didn't talk about Sleater-Kinny.
Sleater-Kinny is groundbreaking.
Yeah. You know? And like if you want to listen,
the Right Girl movement,
The Woods, that's a fantastic record.
Yeah.
Then Bruiser Queen from St. Louis. Bruiser Queen kills. Like they're very fun.
Yeah.
And then Adrienne Davies, she plays drums in Earth with Dylan Carlson.
Right.
And then 2 more. Lori Black from the Melvins.
100%.
Lori played on Eggnog. She played on Bullhead, which is my favorite Boris, or my favorite album
Melvin.
from them. That's where Boris got their name
Yeah.
from. It's my favorite Melvin's record. She
Probably
played
mine, too.
on so Buzz said she was credited on Houdini, but she didn't play.
Mhm.
But I'm sorry, yeah,
Maybe it sounds
Eggnog.
right.
She played on Eggnog, Ozma, and fucking Bullhead. Those three right there, you would be hard pressed to find three consecutive or that aren't live. Like she got some live stuff with them too.
Yeah.
And then Kira Rossler from Black Flag.
Hell yeah.
Man, those are my honorable mentions in one way or another. I've got more. If Barrett gets interested and wants to see everybody, we'll go through it. But I just wanted to hit a couple, and I don't want to keep too much time because we're going to do some other things here.
We can kind of break out in a social media discussion once we got the episodes posted. I'd like to see if anybody out there had any other recommendations. Maybe we overlooked something. We're not perfect here, and it's very possible. And of course, when you're talking music and you're talking about artists, it's easy to get on these side tangents like we have today and talk about adjacent acts or collaborators of the past or whatever the case is. But again, we wanted to get our Women's Month started off with something a little bit fun where we kind of talk about kind of our inspiration, and this certainly being a part of that inspiration for us to dedicate a whole month to women and the awesome things that they do. But kind of talk about women of history as well. And that's kind of the purpose of this conversation. And I would say another driving force, of course, I know Joey can relate to myself, but we have a lot of special women in our life, and certainly respect women. And all jokes aside that we've made today, and their rights and their autonomy that are being threatened present day by political movements that are just unconscionable and unacceptable. But I can speak from my perspective. I have 2 daughters, I have a wife, I have 2 sisters, I have a mother. I have nieces and cousins, and most of my cousins are female, and I just know that obviously they're family, and I cherish them more than anything. Some of my best friends are women, and just want to honor and uplift women. And I know, Joey, you have some special ladies in your life too.
Absolutely. I mean, I have my daughter, my wife, lots of friends, lots of coworkers. I've had some great female supervisors that really they have to deal with a lot of bullshit.
Right.
Like
just because they're women.
Because it's not fair in this world that because you're assertive and you don't have male pieces.
Exactly.
That you're assertive in men is looked at as a positive. Assertive in women is not.
Right.
And that's really, I don't consider that to be fair. That's not equal
backwards compliment about women. She's ambitious. There used to be a backhanded thing that people would say about women who were assertive, and women have all the right to be anything that a man is at any point in time.
Absolutely. And I went through, so actually when you texted me, I was actually on I was at a conference with 2 people from my work site that are both they're supervisors, and one of them they're at the higher level. They're one of the deputy wardens.
Yeah.
And some of the things that I saw they have to deal with just that make them uneasy.
Sure.
It makes you feel horrible.
They
were talking about people from other sites that were they didn't want to be around or in groups with them because they were making them uncomfortable. Not just them.
Sure.
But they were doing it to other women and making them uncomfortable. And I really try to not be that person. It's hard.
Oh, no. I what I think is, and kind of the path you're going down there too, is just there's a lot of ignorance in the world that you have to deal with, and obviously all of us are an amalgamation or a series of events that have happened to us in the past that's kind of made us who we are and kind of what our motivations are. Obviously, people who do those things, men in this situation who like to domineer over women or think it's their right to, I know this is a very specific example, but like to sexually assault women or demean them or lord over them, they're just pieces of shit. That's just all there is to it.
Yeah, you're
just not a decent human being. No. I get that perhaps, I've had so many experiences in my life in particular where I've observed bad things. And certainly this is more so a comment at the young age. And I just felt so guilty for not standing up for women in situations, but it was even more culturally accepted back in my early childhood and teenage years. But I'm glad to see that there's a movement of people with courage that pioneer and champion for women nowadays, and it's certainly, me as a growth as a human being and getting a little chutzpah about me.
Yeah,
is certainly if you see bad things out there, don't be afraid to stand up.
Shouldn't shy away from.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's basic.
Be a
That's
champion.
not just supervisory. That's just basic good human. If you see bad behavior, address it. Because if you're not
Right.
addressing it, you're condoning it.
I know I can say as a manager, a leader in my professional life, unfortunately, there's been many cases where I've had to intervene. And, this is an old example, so this isn't like really talking out of school, but I remember a time, and this, I'm just saying, like, these situations happen in real life. This isn't a virtue signaling situation, but there was a girl that worked for me, and she was wearing some very revealing clothes. And so we'll put this back into that box set that I mentioned earlier, where men think that they're entitled to do certain things in certain situations. And that is, I had some customers that were trying to get a little fresh with her and making some inappropriate comments, and were making allusions to her coming to their room and servicing them and things of that ilk, just simply because she was wearing tights at work.
Just the absolute
worst, right?
Man, what I don't understand about any of that is, like, where do you get the set of fucking balls to talk to any human, a stranger,
Right.
no less, that, to talk to them that way?
Right.
Number one, politeness would dictate alone
Right.
that you shouldn't comment on someone's dress.
Right.
They didn't dress that way for you, asshole.
Right,
They dressed
exactly
that way
right.
for them.
Yep. And that's exactly the point I was about to make, is the fact that these people, I call it frat boyish behavior, and that's just an oversimplification, but they were in a group of men, and they they think it's funny, and they think it's their right. They think it's their God-given right to do these things, people of this level of ignorance. And the egoism behind, that train of thought is just absurd. And Joey detailed it perfectly by saying, like, you think that they dressed for you in this way. That's not the case. So just because women might do things that you personally are attracted to, and I'm talking to any piece of shit that might be hearing my voice now,
Right.
and has that mindset, reevaluate yourself, really. And I will say that obviously I dealt with that situation in a professional manner, and kibosh that. I'm not going to get into the specifics of it, because it's, again, I'm not telling the story for the sake of virtue signaling, but I'm just telling the story for the sake of an example of the things that we're alluding to. And so, men, let's be better out there. Let's uplift women. And I think this is a great way to start Women's Month. Not only did we talk about some awesome music, but we talked about some life lesson type stuff.
Absolutely.
And just being a fucking decent human being.
Yeah. Remember what MCA said: the disrespect of women has got to be through.
Absolutely. 100%. We will end it on that note, folks, today. So thank you for tuning in for this episode of the ATI Podcast. The on-demand features of this episode going to drop here in a couple weeks, so you're not going to actually see that until June 1st. So both video as well as the audio episodes across all podcasting platforms and channels, if you happen to be tuning in. And we'll see you on the other side. Joey, thanks for doing the show.
Thanks, Barrett.
Pleasure to have you.
Hey, this is Josh from ATI Podcast. For show updates and news about the podcast, follow us on social media. You can follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/ATI Podcast 22, on Twitter at podcast_ATI, on Instagram at the ATI Podcast, on TikTok at ATI Podcast. DMs are always welcome. Have a question for the show? You can always email us at atipodcastquestions@gmail.com. Stay safe out there.
This is Barrett from the ATI Podcast. Each week, Josh and I discuss current events, pop culture, music, TV, movies, politics, sports. Nothing is out of bounds. You can also tune in to learn about rising artists, small businesses. Whether it's music, graphic design, filmmaking, or even a brick-and-mortar mom-and-pop shop, we will be spotlighting folks and their endeavors. Listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Anchor, or anywhere you enjoy your podcasts. Just search ATI Podcast. We would like to thank you for your continued support, and as always, please stay safe out there.